Welcome to Taiji's Kitchen. Today I'm going to explain about Japanese religion. So this is a question that I sometimes get asked from my students or my Western friends, what religion I have or what religion the Japanese people have. So it's kind of a bit difficult to explain because all the culture around the religion in Japan is quite very different from the West or Islamic countries. If you ever go to Japan and ask somebody what religion they have, probably 80 or 90% of them will say that they don't have a religion, they're atheist. But those same people will probably go to a shrine in New Year's or celebrate the Bon Festival in August and celebrate Christmas, Valentine's Day and Halloween, or even get married in a Christian church. If people didn't know about the background of it, you would be confused. According to a CIA World Fact, if you search religion under Japan, you will find that 67% are Buddhist, 70% are Shintoists. But the math doesn't add up. How is it possible? So in this video, I'm going to explain you about why that is, a little bit of background history of it, and also at the end, on what are the manners and what to be careful when you're visiting shrine or temple in Japan. Then without further ado, let's get started. So as I say in the beginning, the two main religions in Japan are Shintoism and Buddhism. There are over 85,000 Shinto shrines in Japan and over 78,000 Buddhist temples. And together there are over 150,000 shrines and temples. There's more than 3 times the amount of convenience stores in Japan. And if you've ever been to Japan, convenience stores are everywhere. So it's quite very surprising that there are so many temples and shrines. But for us, the statement that the main religions are Shintoism and Buddhism is a bit incorrect, or like we feel a bit uneasy. Because for us, Shinto is more like a tradition or a custom that we do, and Buddhism is actually a philosophy if you really look into it. So let's start with Shintoism first. What is it? Unless you're really into Japanese culture, you've never heard of this religion because Shintoism only exists in Japan. Shin means God or gods, and To means a way. So Shinto means the way of gods. The start as animism, different region had different things that they worshipped. It could be animals, it could be a stone, it could be a tree, and each region had their own gods. And in Shintoism we say that we have Yaoyorozu, which means 8,000 gods. It doesn't mean that there are exactly 8,000 gods, but it just means a lot. Nobody actually really knows how many gods there are. And so in this sense, you could call it as a polytheistic religion, very similar to Greek or Roman mythology, where they have many gods. And these gods are somewhat powerful, but they're kind of like more human-like. They're gods for everything. Like there are even gods for poverty, or like even the gods of toilet. There was even a song called Goddess of Toilet. And also the people who died fighting for the country of Japan becomes also gods. I've been calling them gods till this point, but so it's not the same connotation as the gods that you may have in Western or Islamic countries. Because for us, gods are a little more closer. So some people who study Japan call them just kami. It means gods or spirit or deities, everything all together. There's no really word for that, so they call them kami. And so in Japan, there are kamis everywhere. They're the beings that just kind of helps us along our way. There is a script called Kojiki or Nihon Shoki, and in them they have kind of lineage of gods. In the script of Kojiki, the main god is called Amaterasu Omikami, which is kind of like a Zeus in the Greek or Roman mythology, the main goddess. And I talked to some feminists that they like the Japanese Shintoism because the main god is a female. That may be something different than the other cultures in the world. And so we have the Amaterasu Omikami and different gods along with them. And also Shintoism have a very strong connection with the nature. Because as I mentioned in the other video of Japanese geography, Japan has a lot of natural disasters. And so for us, nature is not something we can control, but instead something we worship, something we respect, and we just have to find a harmonious way to get along with them. And so it was very natural for us to worship the nature as Shintoism. And so if you ever visit Shinto shrine, it's always in the nature. Often you have to go up the steps to reach the Shinto shrine, and it's surrounded by trees. And so that's a place where you feel the connection with the nature, feeling that we as a human being part of the nature. And so this mentality of Shintoism really shapes up who we are as Japanese. And now let's go into Buddhism. Often people mistake of the Buddha as a god or a son of God like Jesus, but he actually never talks about God, but instead he just shows a way. The word Buddha actually just means enlightened person. Within the Buddhist belief, anybody could be a Buddha if you get enlightened. And so the goal of the Buddhism is to get enlightened and find a way to live happily in this life. The more we try to get away, the more suffering we become. So in Buddhism, there are 4 main suffering. Suffering of sickness, suffering of getting old, suffering of death, and suffering of just plain living. So in Buddhism, it's inevitable that living is full of suffering, but not to be pessimistic about it, but instead accept these suffering and still trying to find peace of mind within these suffering. And Buddhism also doesn't exclude other ways, because the Buddha says, I found a way, not the way. So you would never find a Buddhist missionary. The Buddhists explain what Buddhism is and let each person decide if they want to take it in or not. So that's what I meant by Buddhism as a philosophy. It's just a way trying to help cope with this difficult life, try to find harmony within ourselves, but also with other people. So for us Japanese, knowing the Shintoism, knowing the Buddhism, it's very difficult for us to imagine that the religion can be a cause of a war. In the Japanese history, we never had a war because of religion. There has been some battle or there has been some siege due to religious riots, but it has never been a war because of religion. Because within the Shintoism, we have so many gods, we don't have any problem other people having different gods or different beliefs. And in Buddhism, we're also very acceptant of other religion or other thought. And so it's very difficult for us to imagine why people have to deny other people's beliefs in order to prove the righteousness of their own. And at the end of the day, in both Shintoism and Buddhism, it's not about the belief of what you believe in. You can believe in other religion or whatever. It's about respectful actions, or at least in the context of Japan, it's more important that you treat other people, yourselves, or nature respectfully than you could believe in whatever holy religion you may have, but don't treat other people or themselves or the nature respectfully. And that's also why we don't really care what other people believe in, because in Shintoism, there's not really a belief that you have to believe in. Yes, the emperor is kind of an important figure. He is supposed to be the descendant of the gods, but do we believe that? No, he's just a normal, regular human being. There's nothing that we have to believe in. We don't even have to believe in there's a God, but instead it's about the action, how you go along your life. Either if you respect other people, themselves, the nature, or if you treat other things unrespectfully. So that's why we never think of segregating other religions. As long as other religions respect our religion, then we respect their religion as well. And that's why in Japan you can never imagine a religious conflict, because it's about the respectful acceptance. We also have to go into a little bit of history. So Shintoism as a folk's religion kind of sprung up in different regions in Japan, just kind of spontaneously. As the Japanese country at that time, around 6th century, they were trying to find a way to unify Japan. During that time, there was a big religion in China called Buddhism. They thought, oh, okay, this may be helpful to root the country. So they tried to incorporate the Buddhism, but then there was a little bit of a conflict. Either you should have Buddhism or Shintoism, which one should we take? And the government said, no, they're actually the same thing. Buddhism is just another way of Shintoism, or Shintoism another way of expressing Buddhism. And so they had called Shinbutsu Shugo, which is kind of like coming together of Buddhism and Shintoism. And that's why often you find a small Shinto shrine within the Buddhist temple, or vice versa, Buddhist temple within the Shinto shrine. And so for us, it's really not that important if it's a Shinto shrine or a Buddhist temple. Wherever you go, you just pray. It's just some custom that we do to help ease the suffering of the life. And lastly, I'm going to explain you how you should visit a Shinto shrine and also a Buddhist temple. And I do highly recommend visiting any temple, any shrine, whenever you have a chance to visit Japan. And not just because it's a tourist spot, because I think it's a very soothing experience. Because of what I just explained, we don't care if you're a Christian, you're Muslim, atheist, whatever. As long as you respect our religion, you're all welcome to visit the Shinto shrine or Buddhist temple, regardless of what you actually believe in. There are more customs to visiting a shrine, but you're not forced to do these. It's about the respect. If you respect these customs, you'll be treated respectfully. So usually at the entrance of a Shinto shrine, there's a gate called torii. That's just a symbol of from there on begins the holy area. The middle of the torii is a pathway for the gods, so you want to avoid the middle. You can either go on the right or the left side, and you want to stop before the torii, take a small bow as you enter. And often there's a step, so you walk up the stairs. And as you enter, usually on the left side, there's so-called chozuba, where you're supposed to wash your hands. There were accustomed to how to wash your hands and how you cleanse your mouth. But nowadays, because of the pandemic, many places don't have these, or they may just have some water running down, so you may want to wash them. And then you go to the Shinto shrine. You don't have to, but you can give in a little of money just as an offering. Many people put in 5 yen coin because the word for 5 yen, which is goen, has the same sound as goen, which means a holy connection or like a faithful connection. But of course you can put in more money or less, however you want is fine, because it's just a symbol, it doesn't really matter. And so you put in a coin and then you bow twice. And then you clap twice. And then pray on whatever you want. Often you pray for something that you want or being healthy. And then you bow one last time at the end. And then you walk away. And as you exit the holy field of Shinto Shrine, you may also want to stop at the torii and bow again as you leave. Just be respectful for the gods that live there. One thing that may be interesting for you is that when you stand at the Shinto shrine and when you look up, there's no godly figure to pray, but instead there's a mirror. In some shrines that you may be able to see it, in many places you may not be able to see the mirror itself. And of course you don't see the reflection in the mirror, but it's just a symbol asking back, if I pray for being a YouTuber or whatever, saying that, are you good enough? Are what you're doing every day good enough to be granted of this goal? I personally like this metaphor because I have to reflect my life myself and be careful on what I do and what I don't do. So next time you visit Japan and you make a visit on the shrine, you can think of that and when you pray. And many Shinto shrines, and often the bigger Shinto shrines, they usually have like a stands where they sell amulets or some different kind of lucky figures. As I said, it's not connected to any belief. You're allowed to buy anything. They're usually amulets for health, amulets for a healthy birth, safety on the streets, for studying, amulets for achieving goals. So you can buy whatever according to whatever you want. And then visiting the Buddhist temple is much easier. There's no torii, but instead there's usually a gate, and you don't have to bow. You could bow, but the thing you may be careful is that there's so-called shiki under the gate. That's something you don't want to step over. You want to go over that wooden beam, because if many people step on it, it can be wobbly and break down the whole gate. It's just kind of respectful thing that you step over this shiki. And then you go to the temple. You don't have to. A little offering. And some places there's a bell and say, okay, I'm coming. It's like a doorbell, and then you bring your hand together. And there you don't want to clap, but instead you want to just bring your hands together and then pray for the same thing, and you may bow. And so that's about it. And just look around, watch other people, and just do the things that people are doing whenever you visit there. And when you visit a Buddhist temple in Japan, don't be scared if you see this symbol. This is not swastika. This has nothing to do with Nazis. And this is originally a Buddhist symbol. In Japan, this symbol is called Manji. It's even a kanji character. It means love and peace. It's a symbol for Buddhism. But the Nazis took away and made it their own. Nowadays, Japan has more tourists, so we are starting to change this. But still, there are many places that have this as a symbol for the Buddhist temple. But don't worry, it's the other way around. Swastika has the other direction. And so don't be scared. It has nothing to do with Nazism. And so that's about it. So that's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd love it if you could hit the like button for me so this video can be spread out to more people. And if there are any other topic that you want me to talk about, explain about, then please write the topic that you want me to handle in your comments below. And subscribe if you want to watch more of these videos. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.